Yay! So welcome. First, I just want to ask who would really like to make a huge impact in the world, right? When we all, and then who would like to wake up every single morning feeling like you just can't wait to see what's going to be ahead in your day? Yes? So what if you could wake up every single day feeling excited about what was to come while knowing what an incredible impact that you were able to make toward positive change in this world? It would be amazing, wouldn't it? So I know sometimes that we're taught to believe that that is kind of unrealistic. It's like wearing rose colored glasses, but I can tell you from my experience that I assure you that it is very, very real. So, for those of you, first of all, who don't know me, I'm Meridith Hankenson Alexander, and I want to welcome you to our little from Gen X to 10X, 1 hour long, approximately fireside chat. So, here's a little fire. So, little fire, little sad. But before we get started, just a few little hints to help you as you learn this, some of the things that really helped me. And first and foremost is have fun with this. I mean, these are techniques and strategies that have truly transformed my life. So don't beat yourself up if you find yourself falling back into a habit when you're trying these. I mean, life is truly meant to be fun. And one of my favorite things as I was starting to learn these techniques was to say, I'm playing with this and I'm playing with that, because it's amazing how much more quickly we all learn when it's in the spirit of fun. And that way we're not so obsessed with the destination point, and we really learn to enjoy the process along the way. So number two, be open. Again, these are techniques that not only I have learned, but that I've learned from thousands of other people who it has also transformed their lives. So it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it wrong. It means that it's all of our experience. And it has been such a powerful experience that my huge desire is to share it with you all. So be willing to at least give some of these things a try. And some of these are going to work amazingly for you. And some of them may be a little harder, and don't sweat it. Just push them aside from now. So number three, always play 150%. Even 200% if you can. As the saying goes, how you do anything ends up being how you do everything. So playing full on means that you can expect full on success. So absolutely 100%. You have everything to gain by going for it. And then last but not least, as you play with your life and with some of these processes, remember that there is absolutely no failure. There's only feedback and fine tuning. So you can let go of the idea of making a wrong choice or picking a wrong path, or God forbid, missing the boat. Life is intended to have peaks and it's intended to have valleys. The peaks are no more valuable to you than the valleys. And in some cases, the valleys are what is going to ultimately rocket fuel you up to even higher peaks. So you cannot get it wrong. So just relax and truly, truly, truly trust the process of your own life. So again, for those of you who don't know me, would it be okay if I tell you a little bit about my story and how I kind of got to this point in my life? Good. Some of you may have heard a little bit of this, but imagine that it's 1977 and there I am in this elite prep school in New Hampshire. Just a warning that some of my friends did refer to me as the Elle Woods Legally Blonde of our class, because I had a tendency in and amongst that sea of corduroy and absolutely hideous hiking boots, I would show up with my oh so cool hip hugger, bell bottom, velveteen pants, my huge platform shoes, a faux half sweater, faux rabbit fur to be precise, and a huge smile in amidst all of those very, very serious academic faces. So you definitely might say that I sort of stuck out big time. But I had big, big dreams, and I was absolutely determined to figure out what the greatest minds in all of humanity have not been able to figure out for thousands upon thousands of years. And that was, I was determined that I single-handedly was going to discover the secret of how to find happiness. And then I was going to teach everybody around the planet. I was going to make this huge impact because I had been taught that if I could envision it, I could definitely achieve it. Anyone, can you relate to that? Maybe just a little? Yes. Yeah. So there was one major snafu in that plan. I was dreaming big, but I had absolutely no idea how to accomplish this. I had no idea that happiness was actually a choice or even a discipline, much less that it had anything to do with mindset. I thought that my mind just kind of rolled along almost like a runaway train, and that I had absolutely no control. I was actually kind of like a passenger. So I really thought kind of along the mentality of it is what it is, and I'm just kind of a witness to my own life, and I just react as it seems fit at the time. So I ended up searching high and low for people or for places or for things that would make me happy. And ironically, of course, as you might guess, the more that I searched outside of myself, the more life slapped me around and the more elusive happiness seemed to be. I did have 3 absolutely amazing children, but by the time that I was 35, I was a single parent with absolutely zero financial assistance. So I began living in total financial terror, and it seemed that anything, absolutely anything that I might do to change it, I just ended up smashing against this horrible financial brick wall. And my relationships were unfortunately not really much better. I ended up in numerous relationships where it seemed like the only thing that he and I would have in common was that both of us were absolutely obsessed with making sure that he was absolutely never unhappy. I even ended up in a couple of relationships that ended up being abusive. One to the point where I was having such major panic attacks that before I was even 40 years old, I could no longer drive on the highway. So that was really the critical crisis moment for me when I knew that I had to do something. Something major had to change. So that, ironically, was when I discovered the incredible power of our mindset. So I guess it's fair to say that only when the outer game had slapped me around enough, when I had become so humiliated at trying to look at things out there that would be the perfect combination of things that would make me happy, I was finally open to the idea of that somehow, guess what, it might be related to what's inside of me. So I finally became willing to consider even the existence of the power of the inner game. So the key to happiness definitely started coming together when I started learning. I started reading, and I started absorbing anything and everything I could. I went to seminars and I practiced, and some things seemed to work actually kind of quickly, and other things continued to have difficulty with, but little by little things began to improve, and I started to feel this exciting shift. I started to notice that I was happier. I was losing my patience less. I was feeling calmer. I was feeling more confident. I was feeling closer to the richer, wiser me that was always meant to be. And even though not all of the circumstances were really conducive to being happy, I found that more and more my happiness was not defined by my circumstances. On February 19th, 2016, of course, the boulder struck. And as many of you know, out of nowhere, this massive boulder just randomly fell from the side of a mountain in Colombia and absolutely crushed my youngest daughter, Skylar. Her injuries were so severe that when I got the call, I was told that the doctors didn't even know if they could keep her alive long enough for me to get down there to say my final goodbyes. I can't begin to convey the emotion. It was beyond awful. And in those first 24 hours, I am sure that I cried more tears than most human beings cry in their entire life. But then something absolutely amazing happened. I remember that as I flew on that plane from Colombia, or on the way to Colombia, staring out at those beautiful clouds, I realized that I was not content to have no power in this situation. I realized that I, of course, had no control over this crazy circumstance, over the boulder, over what had happened to Skylar. But I sure as hell was learning to control my inner game. And these strategies and techniques that I was learning were supposedly laws and supposedly real. So they couldn't work in the aspects, in the areas that they were working for me in other parts of my life, and not be true in this part of my life. So using many of the strategies and techniques that I want to share with you, I was able to find a place of such knowing in the form of expectation that Skylar was going to be fine, whatever fine meant. And it was so powerful that under those circumstances, life had to conform to my vision, no matter what the textbook said. So yes, Skylar survived, and things that we were told were impossible became our reality. So instead of being a lesson in how to face death, that crazy boulder became probably the mightiest lesson in my life of how to choose to live. So no, I'm not a PhD, and I'm not a scientist who has spent years in a lab studying human behavior. My degree came from one of the toughest schools there is, the school of bitter experience. My laboratory is the 24/7 experience that I live every single day with Skylar, and that I love doing. Yes, we are destined to face obstacles, monsters, and sometimes literally boulders. But I promise you, nowhere is it written that we are defined by the damaging things that happen to us. We are stronger, and we are, yes, pun very much intended, bolder than those things that would leave us permanently scarred. I choose to wear my scars, everything that has happened to me, like crown of gems because I'm richer because of them. My scars simply cry out that I was mightier than those frickin' boulders that tried to bring me down. So I believe so passionately that the world needs more dreamers and more believers, more people who are brave enough to tackle their inner game now, not when they're desperate and there's nothing, no other form of hope left for them. Because in those dreamers and believers, those people are, as I've said before, to me, those are the ultimate realists because they can create a powerful reality from those moments when earlier those realities supposedly did not exist. So I'm hoping that you will consider that yourself ready to be one of those dreamers and believers and to make an impact in your own life and in the lives of others and learn some of these strategies. So shall we get going on some of the strategies a little bit? Yes. Yay. Okay. All right. So first of all, let me just give you a quick little overview. So what is the inner game? These strategies. So scientists actually discovered at one point through all the laboratory research that, believe it or not, our brains really truly have firmed up their belief system, how they compartmentalize things. The things they consider good, the things they consider bad, the things they consider worthy of being repeated, the things that they consider familiar and not so good, but we know all about it by the ripe old age of 7. So what that means, what that implies, is that if we do nothing to update our minds, then we are effectively doing the same thing as if we used a telephone that was created when each of us were 7 years old and using that for a lifetime. So it will repeat. That's why sometimes the same things are repeated over and over and over again, because as far as our mind is considered, the 7-year-old mind, for the ease, it just goes down the same path and repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats. So the only way to combat that and to make that fresh is to learn the components of the things that can impact and empower our mindset. So let me just switch here for 1 second so I can screen share for a minute with you and show you. Oh, here we go. Lovely. Da-dum. So, da-dum, da-dum. You're supposed to work now. Hold on. Yeah, me. Or not. Let's see. Beep, 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 beep. Sorry. Okay, first time I've done that. Well, my oh my. Desktop 1. Let's see. Dum.
Oh, hey!
Yay!
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Updating technology, right? So, okay, so here are some of the aspects of mindset, of learning the mindset that are absolutely magical when you play with them. So we have, just to, first of all, to list them. Obviously, I can't go into all of them in 1 hour, but the power of our stories is huge. The stories that we tell about ourselves and about our life, about other people, totally. It's the movie that goes on inside of our mind. It determines whether the movie is a comedy, an action movie, or a tragedy. It's simply here because it's the old story of multiple people experiencing the same thing and giving completely different renditions of it. So the power of our stories is huge and critical that we learn how to tell ourselves the kind of stories that will really empower us. Also super incredible it's become a little bit of cliche, the concept of a law of attraction. And I'm not crazy about it, even though the law of attraction is really what started me down this path. I found out about it and heard about it quite by accident and began playing with it. So I kind of adapted it to what I call the law of energy. And I'll give you a few more insights into that in a minute. Then there's the power of contrast. Should we always be happy? Often we feel like we should. We feel like our goal is, I want to be happy all the time. I want to be deliriously happy. But ironically, if you think about it, when we are, quite frankly, miserable, that's the moment when we say, okay, forget about it. Something's got to change. We let go of all of our kind of cockiness and know-it-allness. That's the time when we tend to be the most open and say, okay, what can I do differently? And that's when we create the ideas, right? Because there would be no electricity if everyone had been happy without it, right? It's because someone was so freaking frustrated at not being able to see and needed to work, or maybe needed to get somewhere and be able to see. And the flame and the fire just wasn't enough. So someone was that incensed, that in need of change, that they decided, I'm going to do it. I'm going to push against what's considered impossible. And because I'm so freaking unhappy, I'm going to make it possible. So don't undervalue the value of the times when we don't feel so great. What is it giving you? It is giving you something. Another part of this special secret recipe of the mindset is to learn to tame our own worst enemy. We seem to just give into the fact that this is kind of a fact of life, that we're destined to live with this nasty little voice that says mean, unsupportive little things with us. But imagine if you can help your mind to understand, you know what, I don't want that voice. You're not helping me. You're not proving that I'm right. You're not doing anything. I certainly wasn't born with this nasty little voice inside of me. I've learned this. I'm mimicking what I've heard from others. I need you to be my ally, my champion. And we can do that. But it takes time, because over the years, we've come to accept that we have that nasty little voice in there. So really, really critical. When we can start taming that is when we start really 10xing forward, becoming a master at pivoting. So what that means is there are those moments when we do get hit with something that we don't expect, and it's not sitting well, and it is one of those moments that is what we would consider a negative moment, and we feel like crap. So there is a power in that, like we said, the power of that contrast. But it's when we start wallowing in it and living it over and over. We're driving in our cars and we're replaying the insult, the aggravation, the frustrating situation over and over again, that it starts to dissipate our power instead of compress it and get it ready to boost us forward. So the faster that we can learn to recognize a situation as being tough and difficult, and then say, okay, not what is it doing to us, but what is it doing for us, and shift it around, again, the more powerful we become as our own unique version of who we are. The last three are letting go of expectations and old perceptions of yourself, but of others, and even of life in general. There's so many cliches out there and real statements that we make about ourselves, but also about individuals around us, about our society as a whole, our world as a whole, that are simply stories. They're just that. They're just stories. And our mind likes to be right. We like to be right. So we turn these stories into realities, because we can constantly look around and we find examples of how these are real, because we're expecting to find them, which I'll kind of show you something really fun in a moment. Also, again, trust in the process. Even when it looks like things are going incredibly wrong, per se, trusting in the process, because for example, in my own life, I'll go back to when I went through some really, really rough and horrible things, and I didn't understand, quite frankly, what I had done wrong. I was basically a nice person, and yet it seemed like even with a good heart, even searching for happiness, I was getting slapped and slapped and slapped in the face. But literally within 48 hours of the boulder falling on Skylar, when I was in that hospital in Colombia, in Socorro, it struck me, pardon the pun again, but it struck me that had anything, one little element of my life, of all those horrible things that happened, if that had been different, or if I had known that they would serve a purpose and I hadn't reacted with such painful, passionate emotion and become so incredibly determined and strong and searched for these secrets, these processes and these techniques, if I hadn't been led to explore them and to perfect them and understand them, I would not have been the perfect person to be Skylar's mom through this. I would not have been able to give her what I am able to give her. I would not have been able to support her. And we would not spend the days, virtually every single day through this process, laughing and having fun and growing and celebrating and feeling gratitude. So trusting the process is huge, because you never, ever, we're not intended to be the choreographer of our own lives, okay? And then last but not least, learning resilience, learning to be adaptive. That is the quality that differentiates us from any other species, is our ability to adapt. It's the man or woman who is born with some crazy disease where they have no limbs at all, and yet they're out there saying, I am one of the happiest people on the face of the planet. Again, my circumstances do not define me. I'm empowered and I'm strong, and I'm a prime example of a human being. So that's tremendously huge. So let me just give you a few more examples, since we're a little short of time. But would it be okay if I give you just a couple little gems, since I can't really give you all of them? Okay, so let's play with the power of our stories for a minute. Story statements. So first, let me just quickly give you a little an example. Or, well, you know what? Let me have you let's do something fun for a minute. Let me have you do a quick, take 3 minutes, and I want you to write down, just take 3 minutes to write down where you are right now, what sort of challenges you might be working on, where you feel that you are in your life right now. Just take 3 minutes, and yeah, and then we'll really play.
Sounds good.
And begin. Ready?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So before we play with that, let me just let me give you a little example of the of some of the little stories, the way that we can play our stories. So let's pretend that I'm meeting you and I'm describing myself and I'm saying, "Hi, I'm Meredith. I think I'm basically an introvert. I'm kind of a shy person. I don't really like being around a lot of people, and I don't know. I've been told that I'm kind of a wallflower, so I'm not really sure how I feel about that. Sometimes it makes me feel kind of insecure. I'm not. I don't know. I don't really have a very interesting job either. I mean, I guess that kind of goes with the territory. I'm a researcher for a drug company, and I don't know. I guess I'm kind of yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know. So version number one, okay. Version number two is hi, I'm Meredith, and I confess that I'm typically the quiet one in the room because I am passionate about being an observer. And even though I may not be the loudest one in the room, I think that maybe I could be the most observing in the room. And I'm actually really proud of myself for being different. And I'm really proud of myself for not always having to be the center of attention. And I suppose that makes it why I'm an amazing researcher, and I'm actually probably the best on my team because I do like that quiet and I do like that solitude time. So same situation, but you can see how it's part of the perception and the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves and about even some of the things that people have told us, because nobody, of course, is born being told, or feeling, I'm deliciously shy. It's somebody who has turned around, and instead of saying, wow, you're a really great observer, more often than not, it's like, oh, he's shy, or she's too shy, or she's a wallflower, right? So we accept these things as truths, and they're really just stories. Every single thing are stories. So up on the screen, I have some, examples of different kind of story statements that we surround ourselves with every single day and that we buy into, and that more often than not, we have come to the point where we've internalized them so much that very, very often we consider them realities, and we even may tend to say them ourselves. So for example, you can see, like, I tend to stress when. So, I mean, how many times have you heard people say, oh, I tend to stress before I go into a really important meeting, or I tend to stress when I'm driving on the highway, or I tend to stress when I'm around my mom, those kind of things. Or, yeah, I'm not really very good at or, I get really nervous when blah, 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 blah. And then there are the generalizations about the world at large, like, oh, they always do, da, 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 right? They always do that. They always do that. They always go there and act like that, or even things, cliches like money is the root of all evil, or life is hard. Everybody's going to have, everyone's going to have a tough time, or, money doesn't grow on trees, or, the parent that said, stop doing that, you'll get yourself killed. I mean, seriously, running down a street and falling on the street, chances are you're not going to get yourself killed unless you throw yourself in front of a car. So you can see how those are not necessarily, they're not realities, they're storybook phrases, right? Mm-hmm. So take a look at what you wrote now, mm-hmm, with that in mind. And I want you to quickly circle the sentences that you feel are empowering story sentences, mm-hmm, and then put a line through the ones that are non-supportive story statements. Mm-hmm. Okay. So do you want to volunteer to share, like, and did you draw any lines through anything?
Yeah, well, I think I may have misheard the question because I wrote, like, I, for some reason, interpreted it as things I'm struggling with in terms of where I'm at. So it's all kind of like, but I can frame it back positively if you want. I sort of,
Yeah, so pick one of them because
okay.
that's not necessarily you absolutely you were right on with that
Hmm.
because the just what you said right then, the things that I am struggling with right now. Guess what? That's a story statement.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
You're right.
The
You're
things that
right.
I'm passionate about right now, the things that I'm really focused on right now. And it can be things like I'm I'm passionate about figuring out, relationships. I'm passionate about figuring out my relationship with my mom or my relationship with this person, or I'm passionate about, you know, really figuring out what I want to do with my life and how I can make absolutely the biggest impact. I mean, that's you're I'm passionate and I'm focused on it. And guess what? When you're passionate, I was passionate, I discovered about relationships and specifically happy relationships. So
Hmm.
that meant that I dove in and guess what? Part of learning what is is what isn't because this is a world of duality, right? You can't
Hmm.
understand up without understanding down. You can't understand hot without understanding cold. So that was exactly the question. So what did you discover? What have you discovered just from this little bit?
Yeah, I guess, well, I discovered that I tend to frame, like you were saying before, situations or circumstances that could be positive in a negative way when they pertain to myself. And so one of my statements was like, I'm really, as a young 20 something, I'm really struggling with how I can make the world a better place somehow. And I'm very self critical when it comes to that. And I'm constantly feeling like I'm not doing enough or I'm not adding enough. But at the same time, like thinking about it the other way, I was like, well, I could spin that story like I'm very thoughtful and I reflect a lot on how my actions impact others. And I'm passionate about working toward making the world better in some way. And I'm actively putting thought into it. Maybe right now it's a little bit more negative than I'd like, but that doesn't mean that can't change. And it doesn't, I mean, for someone to be, thinking about these things, that in itself is a good thing. So, yeah.
Fabulous, fabulous. And so I'm going to give you one other little tool that was kind of in my little treasure chest here, and this
Yes.
comes from what is called neuro linguistic programming. So that
Mm-hmm.
back to the power, kind of the power of our words. So
Mm-hmm.
words is kind of a subset of the power of our stories. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that, like in the full blown course,
Mm-hmm.
that I teach you is the power of your words. So and by simply adding words or changing words, you can completely get that train that I was talking about, the brain train,
Mm-hmm.
off of its normal track and really
Mm-hmm.
throw it for a loop and make it start looking for other different paths and other solutions. So there's one little phrase. So if you say, I have a tendency to look on the negative side. Is that what you said? I have a negative
Yeah.
look
Mm-hmm.
to look on the negative side.
Mm-hmm.
So if you add to the end of that sentence, and that's freaking awesome because
Okay.
so when you catch yourself saying things like that, add to the very end of
Mm-hmm.
it, and that's freaking awesome because, and your
Mm-hmm.
brain naturally wants to be right. So
Yeah.
um, so it's going to try and fill in the blanks. Okay, so why is it freaking awesome? Well, it's
Mm-hmm.
freaking awesome because um, because it means that I am passionate and that I don't always accept everything the way that it is, and I don't always accept everything that's automatically told to me. I'm a questioner. I'm a quester. I'm
Mm-hmm.
and it gives me this itchy feeling that here we're going to play with another word instead of I tend to, that I initially identified as being upset and irritated by, but I realize now that it just means that I'm exhilarated and I'm anxious. I'm like a horse in the starting
Mm-hmm.
gate, and I know that when the gates open, boom, I'm going to be out there because all of this data that I'm collecting right now, and some of the data I'm going to decide to keep, it's valuable, and some of it I'm going to go, ugh, that's awful, and I'm going to throw it aside. But I am so freaking passionate about this that I know I'm going to change the world. So I can't get enough of it. I can barely sleep because I want this. I can taste this. You see where it's going?
Yeah.
So it becomes, with just playing with a few words, taking out words like I tend to, and say, I used to have the habit of, or for a while, I thought that I should, think this, or those kind of things. Those become empowering versions of you exactly as you are. Nothing has to change in your life, but
Mm-hmm.
your empowerment factor, your rocket fuel goes through the roof, right? Um, so so let's see. I think we have time for one more. Oh yes. Okay. So one more little plaything that I want to share with you. So it's the power of focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the power of your focus is huge, because our minds obviously learn at the time that we're babies, that there is so much stimulation coming in, right? It has to start filtering like immediately, which is a good thing, because you would absolutely short circuit if every single thing around you, every bit of stimulation, was allowed to come into your brain and make a statement. It would just be a cacophony that your brain couldn't handle. So what it does is your brain, again, by the age of 7, thank you very much, says, okay, this is the kind of information that I'm going to allow in. This is useful. This is good. This has helped me survive in one situation. Therefore, it must apply to all of them, et cetera, et cetera. So we start to selectively focus and see what we are looking and expecting to see. So have you ever seen the gorilla, the monkey business test?
I don't think I have.
Okay, so let's play and let's just watch this for a minute.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, full screen. Here we go. Can you see it?
Oh, I think I might have seen this, but play it in case.
Okay.
Yeah.
The monkey business illusion. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball.
Okay, so how many times did you find they passed?
I stopped counting because I saw the monkey and got distracted.
Okay, so you saw the monkey. So great, good. Not everybody sees the monkey. So
Yeah.
what else did you notice? Because there were a couple of other things in there that were
I
unusual,
guess.
that had nothing to do with either the monkey or the people there.
Um, I mean, I didn't really see anything other than that. I mean, the people were moving around, so I found it was harder to count the white people. Like it seemed like the people in black were always passing in a way that was easier for me to count than the white people. Like the people in white were always passing farther back in the view.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So let's watch the conclusion of this.
Okay.
The correct answer is 16 passes. Did you spot the gorilla?
Yes, yay!
For people who haven't seen or heard about a video like this before, about half missed the gorilla. If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it. But did you notice the curtain changing color or the
No.
player on the black team leaving the game? Let's rewind and watch it again.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
The gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's wild.
you often miss other unexpected
Yeah.
events.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
the monkey business illusion.
It's true.
So yeah, so that's just, you know, another really fantastic example of you know, of the importance of our focus. I mean, we see what we expect to see. So you know, so that translates to us going out there. So when we are seeing the world, let's say, as a very dangerous place, again, our minds want to be right, and we go out there and we see examples all over the place of you know, of things that are dangerous and that are scary, and you know, and that begins working against us very, very, very much. So I'm going to leave you with an example that you can just do this week, okay, along these lines. So just a little fun little exercise. So I want you to pick something that you're not typically paying attention to, but that could easily come into your experience this week. So if you're, I don't know if you drive, if you're in an area where you drive, but it could be a particular kind of car, saying like, today I'm going to, you know, I'm going to see a whole bunch of, this week I'm going to see how many Teslas I see, and you will be amazed. Or you can say, this week I'm going to see how many goofy license plates that make me laugh. I'm going to see that. It can be pretty much anything. It doesn't have to do anything with cars, but you get the gist of it. And just the most important thing is to tell your mind to show you examples of these and watch how many of these things occur. Keep a mental track of it. And then once you prove to your mind that this works, then you can start using this technique to see evidence of things that empower you. Like people validating what a great job you do, all those kind of things, because that's really, once you start, first you have to convince your mind that this is real, it works, because we are often trained that seeing is believing. But this kind of thing starts to shift us closer toward believing is seeing. So let me let's see, let's maybe finish up with well, I think did I tell you, I told you the Poindexter exercise, yes?
I don't think so.
Okay, so let's finish up with the Poindexter exercise, and then I'll just give you a little sneak preview of a kind of the full program that you are already enrolled in. But for those of you who are watching this at a later time, again, thank you everybody for taking the time to watch this. So let me tell you the quick little Poindexter exercise. So this goes toward the little kind of evil little voice, the enemy voice that's inside, right? And we feel obligated to listen to it because it's our voice, right? Now, if this voice was saying the kind of things that if one of our friends was saying this to us, for example, we could easily pick out the flaws, and we would say, whoa, wait a minute. And again, we're not born with it. So it really is not our voice. It's just another voice that we've adapted to act as this annoying little enemy voice in our mind. So if you will try for the next 30 days to, first of all, name that voice. So something incredibly disrespectful. So guys, I encourage them to name it something like Poindexter. For women, it can be like Myrtle, or it can be any sort of just really Henrietta, whatever name just really rubs you the wrong way. It's got to be very, very, very disrespectful, because what that does is it starts to subconsciously train your mind that this is not part of you. This is a different named entity, and therefore it doesn't always have to be right. You can critique it. So when this voice starts to chatter, as soon as you can, realize that it is that voice and say, Myrtle, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And I appreciate your contribution. But right now, I'm going to go and listen to what Meredith has to say because she's really empowering me, and we're really going places. You're welcome to come along, but she and I are going places, and unfortunately, we're not going places with what you're saying right now. If you will try this, and even in a matter of days, you will start seeing results. Oh, fortunately, that wasn't the case. You will start seeing results that absolutely blow you away. It's absolutely one of my favorite little secret tricks per se. So anyway, I said, let me tell you a little bit about this program that actually I'm going to offer. Obviously, I could only kind of scratch the surface and give you a few little gems in 60 minutes. But I hope that you've had the chance to just see how powerful some of these things can be. And I hope that as you play with them over the next few days, that you'll just see the potential if you can really play with them and master them. And I think that hopefully you can see that in many cases, it's just as much about unlearning bad thought habits as it is about learning new supportive habits. And that's part of the fun of the course, is that we will really help you to unlearn the things that are just chip away. And the longer they go, the longer they're allowed to get bigger and bigger and bigger, the more they end up taking it over. And you can see how well that's working for some people. So what I'm going to be offering is a 6-week version of the From Gen X to 10X course. In this course, I'm going to really dive in to more exercises and more strategies that we'll practice together that are truly going to 10X the track that you're on now. You'll finish this course armed with what you need to get rid of your own worst enemy, and replace that voice really, really with the voice of a champion, of a true soulmate. Right? The soulmate that we all go searching for is actually in our soul. That's possibly why it's called a soulmate. I really, really, really believe that your generation specifically is incredibly special, in that you have grown up already questioning the concept of impossible. You've already lived in a world where something that was believed to be impossible 6 months ago is now 100% commonplace. So your mind is open and ripe for just a little bit of new direction. So in this course, we're going to maximize that perspective and 10x that to your absolute advantage, so that you can definitely make that huge impact, and again, wake up in the morning feeling like, oh my God, this day is going to be absolutely amazing. You will be able to identify the bad thought habits now, rather than wait until you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, when I promise you, it is infinitely harder to unlearn those. And you'll learn how to replace them with supportive habits that will also just grow and grow and make you more and more and more powerful. I'll teach you some of the techniques to learn how to use the law of attraction / what I call the law of energy to really, really enhance your life, and not to inadvertently work against you, which is often what happens when you kind of go around thinking by default and letting your thoughts think you. We'll work on learning to focus in ways that will help you to really create the maximum impact in your life, and to really connect with those things that are your true calling, and even identify what is your true calling, what you can do to be totally and perfectly uniquely you. We'll learn how to deal with the challenging experiences that we all face. Instead of crumbling, you'll learn how these are actually vital components if you truly want to achieve something big. And you'll learn how to embrace all of your emotions, like what I call an inspired warrior, so that instead of crippling you, these emotions, you compress them and they become really like rocket fuel. From Gen X to 10X will play with all of the various components of an empowered mindset and apply them specifically to the unique wiring of what I really believe is the completely unique and empowered millennial mind. So if you're truly serious about creating a huge impact with your life and about learning to live lives that are happier and more fulfilling than any of those who've lives that have been lived before you, you just can't continue moving forward with the same default setting of your mind that generations before you have been using to live. It obviously just hasn't been working that well for them. So why on earth do you think it would work differently for you? It took me decades to discover the power of this inner technology. And it was precisely this inner technology that allowed me to not only raise my own children to be powerful and the happy millennials that they are, but it is these techniques that have empowered me to live through this, what most people would call challenging time with Skylar's recovery, and to live through it with laughter and gratitude and to continue to have fun. You guys are a special generation, and I feel like you have gifts like no other generation before you have had. And I genuinely believe that if you can couple those gifts with a truly updated mindset, that there is absolutely no telling what you all will achieve. The world will be in phenomenally great hands because each of you is unique and perfectly imperfect. And therein lies your power. No reference to the Game of Thrones, but you, even with that power, you must first learn to wield that sword, right? So, so there are some of you, like you, my dear, who are already enrolled in the 6-week Gen X to 10X online course. Yay! So what I've decided to do is, in addition to those of you who are already enrolled, the first 30 people who enroll in this course, I'm going to give you a super special introductory offer, per se. So each of the online segments will be no less than 1 hour. And you can, again, they're online. It's not like this, a specific time, a specific webinar that you have to attend. You can look at them at your, you will have them, you will own them. You can look at them over and over again, and you can look at them at your leisure. I'm told that normally to have 6 1-hour courses, the value would be a whopping $600 or 6 $100 monthly payments, which absolutely no way. I'm not doing that, because this knowledge has so transformed my own life and shaped the lives of my own children that I'm really, really sincere and passionate about getting the information out there. And I really, really, really want more of you and other incredible young people to start playing with this sooner rather than later. So for the next 30 people who either sign up themselves or sign up someone that they know, that they believe would really, really benefit from these techniques, I'm going to give it to you for a super, 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 super low price. So I'm going to be a little silly for a moment, because that's all part of it. We're going to have some fun because life is all about play. So in my best Crazy Eddie rendition from when I was a childhood, it's not going to be 6 payments of $100. It's not going to be 6 payments of $60. If you are interested Facebook message me or email me, and you will have this for 6 payments of $20 per month. So for a total of $120, you can truly be on your way. So just to close, like I said, I really, 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 I hope that you will join me for this, because I believe emphatically that the key to transforming this world into the planet that we all know that it can be, the world needs those dreamers and believers. And I think that some of the most powerful people to really bring about that positive change are going to be you, my dear millennials. So I could not be more genuine and sincere in that. I really believe that the world is being handed to you with no restrictions and tons of opportunities. So these little secrets are massive. So I just want to thank you for spending this time again with me. And I hope these little mindset things have been a little helpful. And I hope that you will share your little light with you, with other people everywhere you go. And you, my dear, I look forward to having you play with this course. And
I'm so excited already.
And I hope that you play with some of these things, because I can't tell you how much happiness and how incredibly this changed my life. Right even down to my health. It's and just the liberation of being able to feel such joy, even regardless of the pressure that's out there, right? And yes, we are intended to feel pressure because we're little diamonds, right? And we have to in order to really see and recognize all of our brilliance. But it doesn't mean that we can't feel joy while we're feeling that pressure being turned into So thank you again, my dear.
Thank you. This was so amazing, truly. And I wanted to mention, I'm so sorry at the beginning. I didn't think I was supposed to talk. So that's why I was containing my excitement a little bit. But it wasn't. I was still really excited. Yeah.
I'm so glad, my dear. And I look forward to moving forward, and there'll be some other little fun things, some other little ideas of how we can all have some little kind of get-togethers and some mindset masterminds, some millennial masterminds, whatever we do to brainstorm how we all can work together to just 10x the impact that we all can have, because it is so doable. And again, when we expect it, right, as we saw with Skylar's situation, once you have that powerful expectation, life truly, genuinely does have to conform to your vision.
So true.
And it just blasts right through what everybody to this point has thought is impossible, right? So
true.
All right, my dear.
Thank you for everything. It was so good to see you, and that was wonderful. And I'm so excited for session 2. I'm ready.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Mwah. My love to everybody. Okay.